Ah!
Two bad decisions!
Lady Bird stars Saoirse Ronan, Laurie Metcalf, and Lucas Hedges.
And it's directed by Greta Gerwig, and it's actually her first time directing a solo feature film.
And this movie is set in 2002, and we follow a girl named Christine McPherson who would very much like to be called Lady Bird as she goes through common issues of a high school senior.
So just in case some of y'all may not know, this movie has officially become the highest rated movie on Rotten Tomatoes with a score of 100%. And since I've been seeing a lot of comments on various posts about it, and it seems like people are confused about what Rotten Tomatoes actually is. Rotten Tomatoes takes a bunch of critics' reviews and takes a percentage of how many critics liked the movie over how many people didn't like the movie. It's not like Rotten Tomatoes themselves give movie scores. So let's say 80% of critics give a movie 60% or more, then that movie would get 80% on Rotten Tomatoes. So it's not like Rotten Tomatoes themselves gives a score. I just want to point that out in case y'all don't know.
And that being said, this movie was actually quite wonderful. I actually probably have about no issues with this movie myself. The direction from this movie was fantastic, along with cinematography. There's a lot of scenes in this movie that just kind of have me smiling almost. Like I would just kind of catch myself smiling because of how good these scenes actually were.
Yeah, and one of the things I like the most about this movie is that a lot of it felt just so real. There's so many times they could have done like some melodramatic scene or some sort of cliche moments that most high school movies have, but they went a whole different route than that, and it's just like made it feel just so different than most movies you see.
Yeah, like a lot of the times I was kind of thrown off because there'd be times where I was expecting to see something happen and it would just not do it, but like in the best way, because you know, in a lot of movies we see, we notice these things and the movie just totally steers away from that, and it's just such a breath of fresh air. And we get a lot of great actors in this movie. I can't point out one bad actor in this movie. I would actually, you know, we would be really surprised if some of the actors didn't get nominated.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna throw it right if what's the main girl's name? Saoirse Ronan, and the girl who plays her mom in the movie. If they don't get nominees for Best Actress and Best Supporting Actress, I'm gonna throw it right in Hollywood.
Yeah, the acting was like you said, the realness of the writing, but also just the acting of the writing. Nothing is like nothing. Like you said, nothing melodramatic. There's nothing big about this movie. Nothing about this movie is trying to be like out there, like a lot of movies with their scenes are like a lot of movies with scenes are trying to kind of have this big scene where they're just like trying. It seems like they're trying to get an Oscar.
Yeah.
But this movie doesn't do that. It just seems so real.
Yeah, and one of the big things I noticed just while watching, something I felt, it honestly felt that you're watching someone's life. It didn't feel like a movie that was written to be dramatic or anything. It just felt like you're watching someone's actual life as they were living it. Sort of like, not really a reality show, because reality shows can get pretty over dramatic, but it just felt like you were just in the lives of the person.
And what kind of like the realness, what it reminds me of, and actually Lucas Hedges is in this movie, Manchester by the Sea. We reviewed that sometime back around Oscar time. And the realness of both of them are just so cool and so refreshing to actually experience. This movie is so much more than just a film that you can watch. It's a film that you're experiencing. Now, a big thing about this movie, about reviewing it, is I feel like just saying the word real, I feel like it kind of covers up the entire movie, because every single thing about it is real, and especially the emotions and the relationships. And I'm talking about relationships between people that Lady Bird falls in love with, or the people that Lady Bird's family. The relationships are so real, because you have teenagers with their moms, and I'm gonna keep comparing it to like other movies because it's so different. But other movies, you might have the relationship between the teenager and her mom be so crazy and so ridiculous, and that you might have a teenager just like crying about everything all the time. But it's not like that, because there's even times in this movie where Lady Bird herself doesn't know how her mom truly feels about her. And she goes back and forth several times in this movie between saying that her mom loves her and her mom hates her. And it's truly kind of confusing to her what her mom feels like, because in this growing age, she doesn't know what to expect from the people who love her. She doesn't know if they should let her do what she should do. She doesn't know if they should be strict. She doesn't really know, and it truly covers the mind of an actual teenager. Now, the jokes aren't like laugh out loud funny, but they're funny enough, and they really seem very natural to the story. They don't seem like they don't seem written. None of the jokes in this movie seem like written jokes that like someone had to think of. They just seem like on the spot things that any teenager would say, and anything that would happen. It seems like a lot of the reason why people laugh is because they're able to kind of connect with a lot of the jokes that happen, because they actually are able to happen in real life.
Now, I do want to bring up a few minor negative points I noticed while watching this movie. They're not major points that are going to take off much from the movie, but there are some things I noticed. And one of the things that, the first thing that I want to bring up is that the main character, they did portray her as a just any normal human being in high school. So she has some faults in her character, just natural faults, but there were times in the movie that I felt that they made her a little bit too unlikable. There's times that she got a little too moody to where it's like sort of hard for the audience to root for her. But I didn't think it was like overshadowing over her character at all. I still think that was a well-written movie. But the second point I want to bring up is probably the bigger point, and that's some of the pacing in this movie was sort of off, especially towards like the beginning. Some of the scenes just jump from one to another. It's like major events that would happen, but then they would like jump to a different scene and it'd be like a couple weeks later. So it's sort of like it got a little jumpy at times. But even that wasn't a huge flaw for me.
So guys, please do yourself a favor and go to see this movie. It definitely deserves a whole bunch of attention. It's just so real and so true. So I'm gonna go ahead and say that Lady Bird is 100% awesome.
So yeah, guys, this is definitely a charming movie. It's definitely a feel-good movie. There are some dramatic parts that just a right amount of dramatic. And it didn't really have many flaws at all. So I'm going to say that Lady Bird is 92% awesome. Yeah, I think at this point, A24, which is the company who made this movie, I think they should make pretty much any movie that comes out from here on out, because they've made so many great movies, such as this movie, The Lobster, Swiss Army Man. I didn't really think it was like a super great movie, but won Best Movie last year, which is Moonlight.
And also one of the better horror movies in the past few years, which is The Witch, which is a fantastic movie. It wasn't just horror, it was more towards psychological horror.
And then they're making Disaster Artist, which is coming out next month or next week, and that has a 97% Rotten Tomatoes.
Well, guys, don't forget to like and share. Also, comment below and let us know what you thought about this movie, if you liked it or not, how you compare to our opinions. Also, tell us what your favorite A24 movie is.
And don't forget to follow us on social media. We have a Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, all at 2 Awesome Men.
Also, if you're interested, you can click right here to subscribe. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and you will see us later.